Welcome to the world of the SE5-1000. You are either embarking on a very exciting journey of discovering the nature of the holographic universe, or are already a contributing researcher that has been making our lives worthwhile. Since 1987, Don, Paris, and I have been working with the SE5, and we have been so excited to receive all the phone calls from international ports detailing research data, amazing results, miracles that have given us the greatest joy and are probably the most valuable experience in our work with the SE5. Thank you for joining the researchers worldwide in the field of the SE5-1000 and contributing with your knowledge to the expansion of our human potential. By working with the SE5 and practitioners of similar instruments, we are contributing to the awareness that healing and transformation happens from the informational field down into the physical. You are a contributing researcher, and I want to thank all the people who've contributed over the last 22 years and more, since 1987 worldwide, to the body of knowledge that we are now able to present to you. We encourage you to work with seeds, with plants, to give yourself absolute 100% feedback that what you do has results. And your trust and your abilities will increase with time to create magical, magnificent, wondrous results for you and clients worldwide. I would like to welcome you to the exciting world of the SE5-1000.
Now, before we get started, I would like to tell you a little bit about what the SE5-1000 is and also what it is not. The SE5-1000 is a scientific instrument designed to measure and balance intrinsic data fields, or IDFs. Intrinsic data fields are informational fields that we believe surround and penetrate all living and non-living things. What the SE5-1000 is not is a diagnostic tool for medical conditions. Now, I know a lot of people look at these descriptions that you'll see in our manuals and our books, where it talks about either disease patterns, cells, organs, things like that. And these names are IDF correlations for the intrinsic data fields that we're trying to measure. They are not, however, the medical condition. So if you see the word diabetes, it means the tuning that we're looking for is a tuning of an intrinsic data field that we hope correlates with the physical disease, but we don't know that. And that's why this is an area of experimental research. So if you want to have a medical diagnosis or a medical treatment, you should see a licensed medical professional. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. Let's have a look at what's inside the SE5 case. To open the case, pull on the two latches in the front of the case and open the lid. Inside you'll find your infrared scanning probe, and you can just set this to the side and we'll come back to that later. This is the audio cable used for inputting audio into the SE5. And you can just set each one of these accessories to the side, and I'll go through each one of them step by step so you know exactly how to use them. This is your USB cable used for connecting the SE5 to the computer. This is your Polaroid camera used for taking digital pictures and also then for printing the pictures and using them for samples inside the SE5. This is your Polaroid printer used for printing out your samples from your digital photos. This is your SE5 wall adapter. Now the SE5 will run on 9 volts from this wall adapter. It'll run from a battery which is inside the SE5, which later I'll show you how to change, and also will run from the USB power when you plug it into your computer. These are your glassine envelopes. They're used for storing samples, such as a hair sample, and also for use with the Polaroid pictures that you'll print out from your Polaroid printer. Let's take the SE5 out and set it to the side, and we'll come back to that in a moment. Underneath the SE5, you'll find an input plate, and the input plate is used for placing large samples on top of the plate that are too large to fit inside the cell. This is your output cable. It's made from electroluminescence cable, which means that it will use light to transfer the IDF patterns. Now let's put the SE5 case away and set it to the side. Now we're ready to turn on the SE5 1000, but before we do, let's discharge any extra static electricity that might be on our body. Now I'm working on a table that has metal legs, so I'm going to touch the metal leg just to make sure that any static electricity would be discharged first. Then I'm going to touch the amplitude knob, because if I do have any extra static electricity, it would be safely discharged here, and then I can turn on the SE5 1000. Now it says clearing cell, please wait, and then the screen goes into a blank mode and it says standalone mode, main programs. So then I can look through the main menus by going with the down arrow to the biofield program or the custom programs, or I can go back to the main programs. To use your power adapter with the SE5 1000, first plug the power adapter into a power strip and then plug the other end of the power adapter into the SE5 1000 on the back. Now you'll notice there are two knots, one at each end of the power cable. Do not untie these knots as they block negativity from the incoming power line. This is your input plate, used for testing samples that are too large to fit into the cell. When you handle the input plate, handle it like a CD on the edges so you don't get your fingerprints on the metal or on the top. And then just slide it into the cell, straight in until it stops. Then you can place your samples directly on the input plate itself and take your readings. Next, I'd like to show you how to use your infrared scanning probe. So go ahead and get your probe out. To put the probe in, you're going to put it on the front of the SE5 in the right-hand jack. Just slide the plastic part in first, and then turn the nut clockwise until it stops. And don't over-tighten. Now to activate your probe, you're going to press on the normal scan button, press it one time into the scan position, and that will turn on your probe and activate the light. Next, I'd like to show you how to scan a chart, and I'm going to use a chart from the advanced training course. So I'm going to open up my book to the auricular acupuncture point chart, which is the acupuncture points along the ear. I'm going to use my scanning probe, and I'm going to first go across the top of the chart until I get a stick. I get a stick at D, and then I'm going to go down the side of the chart until I get a stick. I get a stick between D and E. Then I'm going to look at those coordinates and see which points are nearby in this area. Number 54 is the closest, and sure enough, that's where I get my stick. But I could also test the other points just to make sure that that is the exact point. It's point number 54. So then I can go on the chart and look up point number 54, and it is the pelvis cavum point. Now another way to use the scanning probe would be to scan a list. For example, let's say I have a list of reagents here. I can touch the first reagent and rub the plate, go to the second one, third one, and in this way determine any IDF compatibility with the name on the page with my subject who's in the cell. And I get a stick on this one on wormwood. And that's how you use the scanning probe to go down a page or any kind of list that you want to scan. Next, I'd like to show you how to connect your output cable. It's very easy to connect. You just slide it onto the BNC plug on the back and then just turn it a quarter turn. When you press the measure balance button first, it just goes into the balance mode and it says BAL. Now this is just for normal balancing, and it'll just send the corrective frequencies without the output cable. When you press it again, then the light cable comes on. As you can see, mine has lit up. And it'll say BWL, which stands for balance with light. Now when I press it again, it'll change to BWP, which means balance with pulse. And you can see my light cable is then pulsing with light. So one way you can use your output cable is to balance your groceries when you bring them home. You can just simply wrap your cable around your grocery bag, and the field extends out about 3 feet in all directions, so you don't have to have it exactly wrapped all the way around, but generally either set the bags on top of the cable or wrap it around a little bit. And I'm going to run the subtle balance program on mine, so I'm going to dial to 50% because it has both positive and negative tunings in it. And then I'm going to load the program, and I'm going to switch into the balance mode with the light cable on. Now, you could also, for added effect or added energy, you could put it in the pulse mode while it's balancing the groceries. To use your audio cable to connect audio to the SE5, first you'll need an audio source. In this case, I'm going to use the headphone jack from my laptop. So I plug one end into the laptop, and the other end will go into the front of the SE5 here on this audio input jack, like that. Now what this is used for is sending sound frequencies along with your balancing sessions. For example, in the SE5 software you can set up specific sound frequencies to send along with the balancing sessions when you're in the balancing mode. Next, I'd like to show you how to change the battery in your SE5 1000. There's a small tab on the front of the SE5 here. You'll press that with one hand while lifting the battery compartment off with the other hand, like that. Simply push on the battery and lift it out, and then put the new battery in the same way. To put the battery compartment back on, put it on the back side first because there's a little lip there, and then slide it down into the slot like that. To replicate any remedy with the SE5 1000 is very simple. Just place the original remedy on the left-hand coil, the input side, then place the bottle that you'd like to replicate into on the output coil on the right-hand side. Simply press the 7-pointed star and the potentization takes place. Now you've just replicated your IDFs from your original remedy into your new bottle. This is your Polaroid digital camera that comes with your SE5 1000. To install the batteries, turn it over on the bottom and press down on the little battery compartment and slide it to the right, and then it'll flip open. Inside you'll see a little diagram that shows how the batteries go in, so follow those directions with one battery going up and the other battery going down according to the diagram. Then press down on the battery compartment and slide it back to the right. To turn on your camera, press on the little button in the middle on the top until the lens opens. Now when I take a photo of my sample, I like to take it lengthwise because you get a little bit more of the biofield captured in the photo when you're taking the picture. So if I was going to take a photo of my SE5 1000, I would hold it up and take it lengthwise like this, and then press on the button on the top until it flashes, and then I get a picture. And that could be a sample. Having a sample of your SE5 can come in handy if you ever want to clear it of x-rays, for example, after taking it through the airport. Once you've taken a photo, if you want to view the photo, there's a little green arrow at the top of the camera on the back. Press and hold that down, and there's your photo. To turn off the camera, press press on the little button again on the top and hold it down until the lens retracts. Next, I'd like to show you how to print a photo with your Polaroid camera and your printer. First, you need to turn on your camera, so go ahead and press the on button. Then press on the small green arrow on the top, like that. And then press on the button just below it to open your menu. Now scroll across and then down until you get to the Tools, the Setup window. Then press Enter in the middle. And then scroll down until you get to USB. Then press Enter, and it's going to say Computer or Printer, and you want to scroll down until you see Printer, and then press Enter in the middle. Then you're ready to connect your USB cable to your printer. So connect one end of your printer cable into your camera. And it'll only fit in one direction. If it doesn't fit in, just turn it over. Then plug it into the camera. First turn on your Polaroid printer. You'll see a little green light come on. And then put the larger end into the Polaroid printer. And it'll only fit in one direction. If it doesn't fit in, just turn it over. Put the larger end into the Polaroid printer, like that. It'll say connecting. After you've connected, the Pick Bridge menu will show. So then go down to Image and press Enter, and then choose Single, because you just want to print one picture. Up will come the first picture. If you press on the right-hand arrow, it'll move to the next picture. So press on Setup and then tell it how many pictures you'd like to print. You press on the right-hand side of your menu and it'll say 1. Then scroll down to go backwards and press Enter. And then go down again to go back one level. Press Enter again. And now push on your left-hand button to go out of that image and press on the up arrow to go to Print. Just press Enter. Now just press Enter again. Your image starts printing. You should see a small blinking light on your printer saying that it's getting data from your camera. And then the photo will print out. After the picture has printed, take it out of the printer by holding it on the edges of the photo and then place it inside of a glassine envelope. Don't get your fingerprints on the photo itself. And then you can write the person's name on the flap on the back. Now I'm going to show you how to get a stick on your SD5. The stick response is a neuromuscular response that happens when we rub our fingers on the plate, and when we get to a resonance peak, it causes a slight neuromuscular response as well as a galvanic skin response. And this response is what we call the stick. The stick is what we use to determine where the resonance peak is of a specific IDF pattern. So scroll down until you get to Main Programs, then press Enter, and up comes the first program is Stick No Stick, Stick Practice, and go ahead and press Enter again. And it says Auto or Manual. We're going to use auto, so make sure it says auto and then you can press enter. And it says balancing time. We'll let it go about 4 seconds. So scroll down until you get to 4 seconds. Then press enter. Delay, we'll leave that at 1 second, so that's okay. Number of cycles. Let's practice, let's say, about 10 times. So scroll up using the up arrow until you get to the number 10. And then press enter. So when it says no stick, then you want to start rubbing on the plate until it changes. And you can see my instrument actually started sliding around. So when it says no stick again, take your fingers off the plate and let's wait for the next cycle. You don't want to do it from stick to no stick. Okay, it says no stick, rubbing on the plate, and it just grabs the fingers. Now this is a very good way to test your stick in the beginning, is to get a slippery piece of material and put it underneath of your SE5, and so that when you get a stick, it will move the whole instrument when it grabs your fingers. Let's try it once more. Wait for it to say no stick again. Okay, no stick. Rub on the plate, and you can put quite a bit of pressure on there it says stick. Okay, see how my fingers just stop right on the plate? Now some people have very, very dry skin, and for those people you might want to use a little bit of baby oil on the ends of the fingers. People that have very, very oily skin might want to use a little baby powder. On your CD that came with your SE5 1000, you'll find a complete copy of the Biofield Research Manual and the Beginning Training Manual. Now I've printed mine out and put it together in a binder like this, and you might want to do that also for reference. So if you haven't done that yet, go ahead and print out the Beginning Training Manual and I'll proceed from there. Before we begin any analysis with the SE5 1000, we want to go through the initial tests. There are 5 different tests that we want to check to make sure that our environment is clear and that there are no blockages from working with the SE5. So use your down arrow and select Main Programs, then select Enter. Then scroll down until you get to Initial Tests. Then press Enter. It says Auto or Manual. In this case, we want to use Manual. So go ahead and press Enter. It should come up with the tuning 99996900 blockages. Your settings should be on Measure, Normal, and we're going to use the 100 scale. So it should say 0.0 if you're dialed all the way down. Now this is a negative tuning, so you'll want to start at 0. So if you haven't already, go ahead and dial your amplitude knob all the way down to 0, counterclockwise. Begin by rubbing on the plate, and I'm going to dial up until I feel that stick. There, you see how the instrument sort of started moving around and my fingers stuck right on the plate. So mine is 0.4%, which is very low, which means there are no blockages in working with the SE5 1000. Now if you find that you have over 15%, perhaps it is better for you then to work at a different time or perhaps on a different subject. So I'm going to dial back down to 0, press my down arrow, and it goes to 8722119 interference A. So I'm going to dial up from 0, 6.9. Again, this is below 15%, which means that I'm well within the tolerance for interferences. Now if you find you have interference A, B, C, or D that are above 15%, you might want to find a different area to work in, a different place, or sometimes even just turning the instrument in a different direction will clear the interference. These interferences could be electromagnetic, they could be geopathic stresses, or it could even be negative thought forms. So if you find that your interferences are over 15%, don't try to balance them, just go ahead and try a different location to work in. So I'm going to press the down arrow again, interference B. I'm going to start from 0. This one's 5.9. So there's a little bit of interference, but really not enough to affect my readings. So I'm going to press the down arrow again, interference C. This one's 1.2. It's very low, so that's good. And last one, interference D, this one's 0.8. So all 5 of my tests have passed for blockages, interference A, B, C, and D, so it's okay for me to continue doing my analysis. Just make sure if you're over 15% on any one of those readings that you might want to find a different location to work in, or perhaps work on your subject at a different time or choose a different subject. Next, I'd like to go through a basic analysis using the subtle balance program. You'll find it in Roman numeral number 7 on page 22 of your beginning training manual. If you haven't printed it out, like I have, into a notebook, then you'll find it on your software disk under the PDF file of the beginning training manual, part 1. So go ahead and open that up, or print out just that page if you'd like to, and then we'll follow along in the book and with the program at the same time. So I've opened up my book to Roman numeral 7, page 22, or if you want, you can just print out that page and use it as your chart. I've already loaded the program, the subtle balance program, in my SE5, and I'm ready to take my first measurement. Now, your settings should be at measure, normal, and 100%. The first tuning, 9062755, says align chakras, and if you look in your chart, it's a positive tuning, has a plus in front of it, so we're going to start at 100%. If it's a negative tuning, you start at 0. If it's a positive tuning, you start at 100. So this one's a positive tuning, so I'm going to start at 100%, and I'm going to start dialing down from 100 until I get a stick. And I get a stick at 95.3. So I make a note of that on my chart, 95.3%. Now, this is not very low. Normally I would be looking for a tuning that is like below 85% in order to balance. But just for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to balance this tuning. I'm going to dial up to 100% because that's where I want the tuning to go to. And I'm going to switch from measure to balance by pressing on the measure balance button one time. So now instead of receiving the intrinsic data field information patterns from my system, it's now sending the corrective IDF patterning to my biofields. So we'll wait just a couple of seconds and we'll see how it turns out. So now I've let it balance for some time, and I'm going to switch back from balance to measure. And in order to get back to measure from balance, you need to press 3 times, because first is balance with the light cable. If you have your light cable connected, it will light up. And then balance with a pulse, and that pulses your light cable on and off, as I've shown you before in one of the demonstrations. So press it one more time and it goes back to measure, and I can take a measurement from 100, and now it's at 100%, which is where I want it to be. So I press my down arrow. The next tuning is 9424459, oral balance. Again, this is a positive tuning, so I'm going to start at 100. And this one's about 95% as well. So I'm not going to bother balancing this one. I'll keep going until I find something that's more than 15% out of balance. So I press the down arrow. Now the next one is autotoxicity. It's a negative tuning. If you notice in your book, it has a minus in front of it. Now in the manual, most of the tunings you'll find, if they don't have a plus in front of them, that means they're a negative tuning. On this chart, we've added the plus and the minus because it's not such a big chart. So this one's a negative tuning, which means I start from 0% and its ideal state should be 0%. And I'm going to dial up from 0, and I get 3.7. Again, this one is not very far out of balance, so I'm going to skip it and go on to the next tuning, which is balance. Balance is a positive tuning, so I'll start at 100. And this one's about 86, so that's pretty close. I think I'll go ahead and balance that one. So I'm going to make a note of that one because it's a little bit low. 86.8%. So again, I dial up to 100 and I switch from measure to balance by pressing the measure balance button, and I'll wait for a couple of minutes and then I'll come back after it's finished balancing. Okay, I'm ready to switch back to the measure position. Rub on the plate, and it balanced right up to 100%. Now if something doesn't balance right away up to 100% or down to 0 in the case of a negative tuning, it means that there are deeper issues that you need to look into. There are other intrinsic data field patterns that may be causing this not to balance to its fullest degree, either 100% for a positive tuning or down to 0 on a negative tuning. So I'm going to go down to the next tuning, which is blockages. So negative tuning has a minus in front of it. And this one, I'm getting about 11%. So it's a little bit on the edge. It's getting close to 15. And I think in this case, I'm going to go ahead and balance it. So I dial down to 0, and I'm going to switch into balance. And then I'll come back. Okay, now I'm ready to switch back into the measure position. Start at 0, and this one balanced right away. It's at 0.2%, which is fine. And now I'm going to press the down arrow again, and it goes to calcium fluoride, which is one of the cell salts. Each one of these are positive tunings, so I'm going to start at 100%. Take a reading, and this one's 84%, so it's a little bit lower than 85, so I'm going to make a note of that. 84.8. And I'm going to switch into the balance position, dial up to 100 and switch into balance, and let that balance, and then I'll come back. So now I'm ready to check that tuning again, and I go back to the measure mode and start from 100%, and it balanced right up to 100%. Now go ahead and go through the entire chart of your subtle balance program and test every one of the tunings, and then when you're finished, come back and join me. Now what I've just shown you is how to do a manual analysis and balancing, which means manually looking for each tuning that's out of balance, and then once we find one that's out of balance, we balance it directly right at that moment. Now this is not the normal way of working. Normally we work with the software and we go through and we find the tunings that are out of balance and we put them into a custom program. Now in the SE5 software, as we go through our analysis, we'll measure each one of the tunings and it will automatically copy them into a custom program. When we're finished, we use the software then to sequence the tunings, which means it balances one tuning and then it waits and it balances the next tuning and the next tuning and the next tuning until it's finished. Now that's how we normally work. Normally we don't work doing one tuning at a time and then balancing each tuning, but you can also work that way, and I wanted to show you how you can do that with the Subtle Balance program. In the next exercise, I'd like to show you how to do a food compatibility test. We're going to test the IDF patterns of a specific food with the IDF patterns of our subject. In order to do this, you're going to need your input plate. So go ahead and insert your input plate into the SE5. And you'll also need a subject. So go ahead and place your subject inside the cell as well. And we want to go to the biofield program. So go ahead and press enter under biofield program, and up comes the intake clearances. Go ahead and press enter again. And it asks you if you would like to run it automatically or in manual. In this case, we want to go into manual mode, so press the down arrow and it says manual. Press enter again and it loads the first tuning, ADDRMVNOWAM, which is a protection code. Now these intake clearances are similar to the first 5 initial tests. They're just a little bit more expanded form. So you want to test those first before you work on your subject. So let's start on the ADDRMV protection. We start at 100%, and I get 100%, so that's okay. Now if you go to the next one, press your down arrow. Now this one is the same tuning, but it's also measured at 0%. It's also just about 0.6, so we're okay there. I press again and I get energy purity. Now energy purity is the same thing as blockages except in the positive fashion. So we want to test from 100% on energy purity And if this reads lower than 85%, then you don't want to work on the subject. And I barely turn my knob and I get a stick at 100%. So I press the down arrow again. Now these are slightly different tunings than in the initial test, but they mean the same thing. So 13-78, interference A, I get 7%. That's good. So I check interference B, 1.2%, interference C, 0.9%. And again, if any of these are over 15%, you'll want to look for a different place to work, different environment, and perhaps even a different angle or a different direction. Interference D, 1.3. Now this one, interfering fields, can be balanced if it's out of balance. So let's test it and see if it's over 15%. Mine is only 1.6%, so that's not enough to balance. But if yours is even 8 or 9%, you might want to dial down to 0 and then switch into the balance mode for 20 or 30 seconds and then check it again. I press the down arrow again and I get barriers to rapport. Now my barriers to rapport with working on my subject are 6.9%. That's not very high, but normally I like to have them really down to 0. So I'm going to switch into the balance mode after dialing down to 0. Okay, I've been balancing for some time now. I'd like to switch back to the measure mode by pressing the measure balance button several times until it says measure. And I get 0.3%. Now that's much better. It's not exactly 0%, but it's okay. Press the down arrow again, and I get 9-49 general vitality. This is a positive tuning. So this is the tuning that I'm going to be using to test not only his vitality, but also then the compatibility with his vitality with a piece of food. So I'm going to check his overall vitality first. And I get 83%. So now let's try some food. I'll try an apple and we'll put it on the input plate. And I start from 100% again. I dial down until I get a stick and it brings it up to 100%. So from these readings, I would suggest that the IDF compatibility between this apple and the IDF patterning of my subject is very good. Now you can try this with many different foods and get an idea of which foods might be compatible with the person's IDF patterns. Next, I'd like to show you how to run an automatic program on one of your subjects. So we've already done the intake clearances, we've done the initial tests, and we're ready to do an automatic balancing. So press the down arrow until you get to the biofield program, and then press enter. The first program is the biofield program, and if you press the down arrow, it'll go to the psychological program. And each one of these programs can be run automatically. Cellular program. Let's say we wanted to run the cellular program on our subject. So go ahead and press enter, and it says auto or manual, and it comes up auto is first, so go ahead and press enter again. The balancing time. Now I like to dial up from 0 and ask what's the optimal balancing time for each one of the tunings for this subject. I dial up from 0 until I get a stick and I get 15.7. So I'm going to scroll up, goes up in half-second increments so I can go up to 15.5. Then I press enter. Delay. The delay is how long between each one of the tunings is the SE5 going to wait before it sends the next tuning. In other words, it's going to balance one tuning for the specified period of time, then it's going to wait, and that's how long the delay is in between each tuning. So I'm going to dial up from 0, and I get 6 seconds. I'm going to press the up arrow until I get to 6, and then press enter. Number of cycles. How many times is the whole program going to balance, and then it's going to repeat? So I get 2.8, which is about 3 times. So now I'm ready to start balancing the program. So I'm going to dial up to 100% because this is a positive program. I'm going to switch into the balance mode by pressing balance. So now I press enter and the program begins to start running. It balances the first tuning for our time period, and then it changes to the next one. Once you've put in your installation CD, the software will automatically start in XP. If you're running Vista, you'll have to click on Run Setup.exe. And the software starts loading. Up comes the Welcome to Setup wizard. Click on Next. The software is going to be installed into the program files under Living from Vision SE51000. If you'd like to have a different folder, click on the Browse button and then choose a different folder that you'd like to install the software. In most cases, you'll want to leave it just as it is. Would you like to install the software for everyone or just for yourself? In most cases, it'll be just for you, so click on Next. The installer is ready to install the software, and then click on Next, and then the software is being installed. Then it says Installation Complete, and just click on Close. After you click on Close, you'll find an icon on your desktop that says SE51000.exe. But don't click on it just yet, because without the SE5 connected, you'll get an error message saying Device Not Found. So let's go ahead and connect our SE5 to the PC, and then we can begin. Now to connect your USB cable, take the small end of the cable and put it into the back of the SE5 in the small USB port. It'll only fit in one way, so if it doesn't fit in one direction, then just simply flip it over and put it in the other direction. Same thing on the computer. It'll only go in one way, so if it doesn't fit one direction, then just flip it over and put it in the other direction. Now when you turn on your SE5, first it'll go through the cell clearing. The computer will recognize the sound. They'll say preparing for USB and then waiting for USB data. Now when I click on my icon, the 7-pointed star, then the screen should go blank in the SE5 like that. So go ahead and click on the 7-pointed star. That'll start the software and then maximize the program so it's easier to work with. Before we get started, we need to put in a computer clearance code to block any negativity that might come from the computer. So to do that, go up to Tools, click on Setup, and here you can enter your name, and if you want you can put in your address, etc. So put in the computer clearance code 899-45895, and that code will work for all computers fast enough to run this software. After you're finished, then click OK. Before we can do an analysis, we need to set ourselves up as the operator. So go up to Data, click on Operators, and then you want to go to Record and Add New. Now I'm going to be the operator for this session, so I'm going to type in my name. And the description in this case, I'm going to be the owner. When you're finished, click OK. And then X out the window. And then we need to set up a subject. In this case, I'm going to be both the operator and the subject, so I'm going to go to Data and Clients. And I'm going to go to Record and Add New. So I'm going to put in my name, and if you want you can put in the address and the city, phone numbers, etc. And you might also want to put a personal note in here about this if it was a friend or In this case, it's myself. And then click OK. When you're finished, X out that window. The next step would be to load your subject's photo. So go up to the S on the toolbar, stands for Subject, and click on that. Then you need to navigate to the folder where you're going to keep your subject's photos. I'm keeping mine under Program Files, so I open the little drop-down window. I go to Computer, Disk C, and I scroll down to Program Files. Now the SE5 software is under Living from Vision and SE5 1000. And here you'll find your folders for your sounds, your subjects, your videos, images. So I'm going to open the subjects folder and I'm going to click on myself and say Open. And now when I go to do my analysis, my photo will open with the analysis window. Okay, we're ready to start a session. So let's go up to Analysis. We're going to click on New Session. Up comes the New Session wizard. Go ahead and click Next. Now you can select your operator for this session. In this case, it's going to be myself. So I click on my name, but I might have several different operators here. So I say OK. And then select a client for this session. In this case, it is also going to be myself. So I click OK, select, and I'm going to select my name as being the client as well, and say OK. If you check this box, then you can type in a primary cause and hold a focus for what this session is about. Search for a primary cause of, and I'm going to put in itchy eyes. Description for the session. Now this may be the same, it may not be, and I'm going to put in the description for this session, the same thing. And I could put other things like allergies or anything that I wanted to focus on in this session or the description of the session that I'm working on. This might be the second try or second session that I've worked on. Just notes for yourself. Now, whenever we talk about things like itchy eyes or allergies, any of those things that we're focusing on, we're looking for the intrinsic data field reference points that may or may not correlate with the physical symptoms. Always keep that in mind. During this program, you're going to see many, many names of disease patterns and organs and tissues, different things that may make it sound like that it's focusing on the physical body. This in no way focuses whatsoever on the physical body, but we're looking for the IDF references, these tuning frequencies that may correlate with some of these disease patterns. And that's why we're doing this research. It does not mean that if you've put into the SE5 a balancing for, let's say, diabetes, it doesn't mean that you're working on the physical body on the physical diabetes. That is reserved for licensed medical practitioners. Before we begin our analysis, we want to go through the intake clearances. The intake clearances are similar to the initial test, but in an expanded form. So go ahead and click on Intake Clearances, and the first one is a protection code. Now the protection code is to make sure that the subject will not pick up any of your vibrations and you will not pick up any vibrations from your subject. You want to make sure that you have an insulation field between the two of you. So this one is measured at both 100 and at 0, you'll see on your chart here. So let's start with the first one at 100. I start dialing from 100 down, and I get 99%. So go ahead and press on the tab button and go to the second one. I dial down to 0, and I start rubbing on the plate. And this one's a little higher. It's at 14%, 15%. So I'm going to dial down to 0 and switch into the balance mode. And I'll wait for 20 or 30 seconds, and then I'll come back and we'll check it again. Okay, I've balanced for some time, so I'm going to switch back into the measure mode by pressing the measure balance button 3 times, and I'll start again. And now it's at 0%, so that means it balanced. So press your tab button, go down to the next one, which is energy purity. This one is from 100%. So I'm going to start at 100, and it needs to read 85% or higher, otherwise I don't work on the subject. And mine reads 97%, so it's okay to work on the subject. So I press on the tab button again, and I go to interference A, and this one is from 0%. Now interferences A, B, C, and D are just like we did in the initial tests. So I've got 2.2, which is okay. I go down. The next one, interference B. 11%. Still underneath 15, so we're okay. Interference C. 7.4%. Interference D. 4%. Interfering fields. Now, interfering fields you could balance if they're out of balance. It's a general reading. If interferences A, B, C, or D are too high, if they're over 15%, it means that you need to work in a different environment or perhaps even change directions. Sometimes that will actually clear the interference if you just change the direction of the instrument. But my interfering fields are only at 0.7, so we're okay. The tab, go to barriers to rapport. Now, barriers to rapport is kind of the opposite of the protection code. You also want to be in harmony with your subject, but in a positive way. And I have basically no barriers to rapport. It's 1.3, so I'm okay. I'm going to go to tab, general vitality. Now, this is a positive tuning from 100%. What I found with normal subjects is that the vitality normally ranges between 70 and 80%. Now, if the subject is taking good care of themselves, eating organic food, getting enough exercise, getting enough rest, their vitality will usually be between 80 and 90%. The only time I've normally seen subjects' vitality above 90% is when they're doing subtle energy type work or working with the SE5 or other types of subtle informational fields. So let's check vitality. And my vitality is running at about 96.9. So that's good. So I'm going to click on the tab button. I'm going to go down to acid-alkaline balance. Now, the acid-alkaline balance is sort of like the battery in the system. So we want to make sure that the acid-alkaline is balanced before we begin. And mine's about 95.9%. I'm going to go ahead and balance that. So I dial up to 100%, switch into the balance mode, and I'll balance that for a few seconds, and then I'll come back. Okay, now I'm ready to switch back into the measure mode. Start at 100, and now it balanced right up to 100%. So the last one is sodium chloride. That's the salts in the body, and that's sort of like the informational carriers in the system. Now mine is already 100%, but if yours is lower than 100%, I would go ahead and balance it because the informational fields travel in these crystalline structures. So you want to make sure that those are balanced first. So when you're finished, go ahead and click OK. And now we're ready to do our analysis. So click on Next, and up comes the biofield system. And if you look on your SE5 in the screen, it also says biofield system. Now I'm going to take a measurement from 100. I'll start at 100%, dialing down until I get a stick. And you see that the whole plate gets sticky enough to almost grab the instrument, and I can move the instrument around. 94%. So that's not really low enough in this case to look into this section, so I'm going to go down to the next section, which is psychological. So I press the down arrow on my SE5, and I take a measurement on psychological. I get a stick at 95.4. Again, this really isn't high enough to look into that subsection, So I'll just keep going down until I find a section that may be related to what I'm searching for. Cellular is 100%, no big deal there. Nutritional metabolic. Okay, so there's something that's going down lower, and that's really what I'm looking for. This one says 72%. So I want to press the select button. That will then open up the next subsection. In this case, it's metabolism for each one of these subsections. So again, I can take a measurement on metabolism. That's about 100%, so I don't really need to look into that one. So I go to gases. 95%. Keep going down. Acids. 100%. That's not what I'm looking for. Blood sugars. 92%. Protein amino acids. 93%. There's got to be something in here. We'll keep going till we find it. Vitamins. 92%. Minerals. Okay, that's about 82%. I'm looking for something that would be less than 85%. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one. And now we'll go down the list of minerals and see if we can find one that might give us a reading. Now you could measure each one of these, but the faster method is to use the down arrow. So I'm going to just rub on my plate. I'm getting a little drag there, but not really a stick. So I'm going to go down, mineral imbalance, mineral excess, mineral excess, mineral deficiency. Okay, I got a stick on mineral deficiency, the second of the two, 40-64. So I select this tuning, and if you'll notice on your screen, it says 40-64 is the tuning. Now press your tab button, and that'll move you over into the amplitude window. And this is a negative tuning, in other words, it doesn't have a plus in front of it. So we're going to start at 0, and I'm going to dial up from 0 until I get a stick. Okay, I got a stick at about 7%. The way to put it into the program is you can either press tab several times until you get to the OK button and then press enter, or you could use your mouse and just go and click on OK. Okay, so let's continue down the list. So I press trace elements. No, imbalances. I got another one on imbalances. So I'm going to select imbalances, press tab, and again this is a negative tuning, so I'm going to dial up from 0 until I get a stick. Okay, now you might have noticed it squeaked for quite a long time, but I'm going until I really get the full stick, until my finger's stuck to the plate. So that's 35%, so this is much more what I'm looking for. And this time I'll just use my mouse over the OK button and click OK. Okay, we'll continue down our scan. Arsenic? No. Slippery, not even squeaking. Calcium, breakdown. Calcium. Carbon. Chlorine. So I just go down one at a time. Now you hear it squeaking, but it's not sticking, and I'm looking for a real stick. Just going down one at a time. There, I got one on lithium. Now this is a positive number. You see the plus sign in front of it. So that means we're going to start at 100%. Go ahead and click select. Use your tab button to go into the amplitude reading. I'm going to start at 100. Oh yeah, that's really slippery. It's not even squeaking now. Oh, that's really low. Okay, 25%. So now I click OK over the OK button, and that puts it then automatically into the program, and I can continue my scan down. magnesium, manganese, mercury, potassium. Okay, I'm also getting a stick on potassium. So I press the select button and it opens the tuning amplitude window. I press tab to move my cursor over to the amplitude. Now this is a positive tuning. I'm going to start at 100% and start dialing down from 100%, and I get 84%. Again, I click OK. So this is the way that you do basically the entire analysis through each one of the main sections, then the subsections, and then the tunings, and enter the tunings into the program. To close the windows, you can press close. It takes you back one window at a time until the end. If you press again, it's going to say you're about to cancel this wizard, and do you want to, and you say yes. Now that we've done some analysis, let's go ahead and do some balancing. So go up to balancing, click on balancing, and run session. Now we can run either the positive tunings, the negative tunings, or both. First, I'd like to run the negative tunings. Up comes the Run Session wizard. Click on Next, and then choose from this list. Now if you have more than one session, they'll be listed here. I only have one session in my example, so I'm going to highlight it and click Next. Balancing time. Now to set the balancing time, I like to use the SE5. So I start at 0, start rubbing on the plate, and dial up until I get a stick. Get 11.9 seconds, so we'll call that 12 seconds. And the delay, now the delay is how long there's going to be a pause between each of the tunings. So it'll balance one of the tunings, then it'll wait, and then it'll send another tuning. So let's see how long of a delay would be the best. So 6.5 seconds, so we'll call that 7 seconds. Number of cycles, how many times should it repeat? Again, I start at 0, 9 times. Then I click on Next. Now if I click Start, it'll start balancing the session, but what I'd like to do first is set up any sound or geometric patterns, and that's done here under this little screen. Click on Sound and Geometrics. If you click here where it says Balance with Sound Geometrics, it'll turn on this whole little window. If you click it off, it won't balance with sound or geometrics. So click on Balance with Geometrics and Sound. Here you can set your delay. So again, I like to use the SE5. How long should each one of the geometrics be present? I get 3.7 seconds, so we'll call that 4 seconds. And here is where you're going to choose your image set of which kind of geometrics you'd like to use, or colors or sounds or images. And clicking on Image Sets is where you'll be able to make a new set of images. So we're going to click on Image Sets, and we're going to add a new one. Give it a name. This one I'm going to call for Itchy Eyes. And click on this button, the Add button, to add more different images. So the images are stored under IDF32 under Images, and you can highlight the first one, and then you can go down or across with the sideways arrow on your computer until you get a stick. You might use also then the down arrow as well. Okay, I got a stick on allergies, so I'm going to add allergies to my image set. So we click on Add again, and this time I'm going to pick up where I left off. So I click on allergies, and now I'm using the sideways arrow again. down and then across. Okay, antitoxins. I have a stick on that, so I'm going to add that one as well. So you just keep doing this one after the other until you get enough images in your image bank that you'd like to use. Now sometimes you'll hear the squeaking a little bit, but I'm looking for a real stick. So there are a lot of different images in here that you could use. And so just keep going through them until you get enough images that you want to have in your session. I'm just going to have these two right now. After you've added some images into your image set, then click OK. Then click OK again. And now in the drop-down window next to image set, you can choose the image set that you just created. Now under subject, we had set that up before under the icon up here under the S icon, but you can also choose it here by clicking on the button and then opening up the subjects under IDF32, the subject folder, and then choose your subject here. So you might have a whole list of people or subjects inside this box. This box, Play During Balancing, is for your sound or video. In this case it's for sound. So if you untick this box, it turns off the possibility of playing a sound. So let's go ahead and check that box. We're going to choose a sound, and this will be under sound. So you go to the drop down box under IDF32 and we're going to go to sounds. And again, you could highlight the first sound and use your down arrow and choose, we'll get a stick on bells descending. So I'm going to choose that one, say OK. And then you're ready to go. Now if you want to have a video, you need to check play video here and then open this one for choosing a video. So let's go to IDF32 and then we go down to videos and I'm going to add a video. And then you're ready to go. So we say OK. Now the computer is ready to start balancing. Let's set up the SE5. First, plug in your audio cable to the SE5 if you want to send the sound frequencies along with your balancing session, and plug the other end into the headphone jack on your laptop or your PC. To balance the negative tunings, we're going to dial the amplitude knob down to 0 and then press the measure balance switch into the balance mode, and then click start on your computer. Up comes the subject, starts the balancing. Here is the tuning that's being sent. Now it's pausing. Here it tells you how long it's pausing. And now it's doing the second tuning. Now you may not hear the sound from your SE5. If you put your ear really close, you'll hear the sound coming from your SE5. But it's very soft and it's sending these frequencies mostly magnetically, but also through sound waves with your balancing session. Once your session is finished, then click on Next and click Finished to close your balancing window. Next, I would balance the positive tunings. So I click Balancing again, Run Session, this time run positive tunings. Up comes the Run Session wizard. Click Next, choose the session name again, Again, you'll need to set your balancing time, delay, and number of cycles. So I use the SE5 again. And oftentimes I've found that the positive tunings are a longer time element for balancing. This time I get 26 seconds. Than the negative tunings, and I don't know exactly why that is, but it's been very consistent over time. Delay 1.4, so we'll just call it 2. Number of cycles 15. Go to next. If you want, you could change the image set and music and sound, or you can leave them the same. In this case, I'm going to keep them the same. Now for the positive tunings, we're going to set the amplitude at 100%. We're going to switch from measure to balance, and then click Start on your PC. Once you've balanced your session, you might want to go back and update that session. So click on Analysis, Update a Session. Up comes the Update Session wizard. Click on Next. Choose the session that you'd like to update. If you want to change the primary cause or the description for the session, you can change it there. And then click on Next. Now to update the tunings that are already in the database, you want to click on Update Existing. Highlight the tuning that you'd like to update and click on Select. To take a new reading, click on Revision 2, tab over to the Amplitude box, and then take a reading on your SE5, and this time I get a stick at 0. So that's good, that means it balanced. And click OK. This way it gives you a before and an after reading, and then you can check it again later and you can actually put in a third reading as well. Click OK, go to the next tuning, click on Select. So again, tick the box Revision 2, tab over to the Amplitude box, and take a reading from 0 because this is a negative tuning, no plus sign in front of the numbers, and I get 18.8. So this one still needs a little bit more balancing. It has come down, but it's not completely balanced yet. So click OK, and you can actually set up another revision later like before. Click on the next tuning. Click Select. Tick the Revision 2 box, tab over to Amplitude. Now this time we're going to start from 100% and dial down, because it's a positive tuning. See the plus sign in front of the tuning. So it's come up to 83%. It was 25 before. So we're making progress. And say OK. So do this for each one of your tunings in your session, and when you're finished, click on the Close button. Now if you want to add more tunings to the session, click on the section that you'd like to add, click on Select, and up will come your list of subprograms, and you can scan down through each one of them until you want to add a tuning. Let's say I want to add some meridians, so I click on Select, and I can go down through each one of the tunings until I get a stick on my stick plate, and then add that tuning to my session like we did before. So this is a positive tuning, so I'm going to start at 100 and dial down until I get a stick. Click on OK and close. If you'd like to run a program rather than make a session, you go up to Balancing, Run a Program. Up comes the Run Program wizard. Click on Next. and choose any one of the programs that are in your program list. Let's say I wanted to choose the mandala program. I click on Next. Now these are subsections, mandala 1, 2, and 3, so you can choose which one of the subsections you would like to run. I'm going to just run part 1 of mandala, so I move it over into the selected subprograms, and then click on Next. Again, choose your amount of balancing time by using your SE5, say 12 seconds, the delay, 2 seconds, and the number of cycles, just 1, so that's okay. Click on Next, and up comes your balancing window. And of course you can change your colors, your sounds, your geometrics, and your videos here if you'd like to change that. Now when you run a program like the mandala program, it will have both positive and negative tunings in it, so we're going to set the amplitude at 50%, switch into the balance mode, and then click Start on your computer. Once you're ready, click on the Start button, and it'll start balancing your program. If you want to run multiple programs, go up to the balancing menu, click on Run Multiple Programs. Up comes the Run Multiple Programs wizard, and click on Next. And here you can choose which programs you'd like to run. So let's say we're going to run the biofield program, or parts of it. We can also choose parts of each program, and the cellular program. Now if you want to change which subsections you want to run, click on the program that you want to change and click on Subprograms. And here you can take out any one of the different subprograms that you don't want to run. So let's say I'm going to take out directional energies, biofield, etc. And then it will balance only the subprograms that are in this side of the window. And click OK, and you can do the same thing for cellular. Choose cellular and then click on subprograms, and maybe we don't want to balance the cellular imbalances, so we take those out and say OK. When you're ready, click on Next. Again, set your balancing time, 13 seconds, the delay, 3 seconds, and the number of cycles, 1. Click on Next. Now set up your SE5. Now this is going to have also positive and negative tunings in the program, so we're going to dial up to 50%. Select Measure Balance button and put it on Balance, and then click on Start. Now to create a new program for your database, you go up to Data, click on Programs, and then go to Record and add a new record. So the author, we can put in our name if we want to, and description for the program. In this one I'm going to use Auto Tune-Up. And then I click Add. So the subprogram I'm going to have for my Auto Tune-Up is Engine. Then I highlight the subprogram and I click Add again. And then it asks me, do I want to add a subprogram to the main program, or do I want to add a new tuning? I want to add a tuning to the program. So I click on OK. Under Engine, I'm going to put as the tuning Clean Spark Plugs. And the description may be the same. Now this is just going to be a word tuning. Now if it's a negative tuning, you would check this box, But this one is a positive statement, so I want to keep this unchecked because it's positive tuning. And then I say OK. So I can add another tuning. Increase gas mileage. And the description you can either leave blank since it's the same, or if you wanted to type the same thing in, you could. And then say OK. So you just do one after another and you create your list of tunings here. Now if you don't put the description in, you won't know what this tuning is. So it's always good to have both the tuning and the description in the tuning. Now if you want to edit that tuning, you just highlight the area that you want and you click on Edit, and now we could add in our description. When you're finished, you can say OK. And now if you look at your list of programs, you'll find that you have a new one here, Auto Tune-Up, at the bottom. If you want to edit any one of these programs, let's say you wanted to edit the Colors program, you highlight it, go up to Record, and click on Edit. And here you can edit any one of the tunings or the sub-programs simply by highlighting it and clicking on Edit. So you can change the tuning, the description, etc. And say OK, and you're done. We also have a word tuning database just for word tunings. So you can either get there by going to Data and Word Tunings, or you can just click on the W on your toolbar. Now this is a very handy little tool just for typing in tunings. If you just want to test a single tuning with your SE5, you can just click on Add, and anything you type in this window will show up. Let's say 12-22. If you want to just check a tuning that you know, it'll show up here on your display, and you could actually take a reading then on this tuning. Or if you just want to add a word tuning, white light on all body parts, then you can click on OK, and then it saves it in a database of word tunings. You can edit this by highlighting it and click on Edit, or you could click on Delete if you wanted to delete it. When you're finished, click Close, and when you're in your session, you can actually add any of the word tunings that are in your word tuning database. For example, let's go to Analysis and update a session. I'm going to update my session that I already have. Click on Next, choose the session that you're going to update, click on Next, click Next again, and here where it says word tuning, just click on the word tuning that you want to add to the session and you say OK, and now it just put it into that session right there at the bottom. Now let's say you wanted to find a specific tuning for a specific thing. Click on Find Tuning, and you can either choose by tuning description or you can choose by tuning frequency. Now to find a tuning by tuning frequency, you want to choose whether it's positive or negative. Let's start with a positive tuning, so you put in the plus sign. And let's say we wanted to look for a tuning that started with 12. We knew that it started with 12, but we didn't know much more. So you type in 12, and up comes all the tunings that start with 12. Like for white light, shows up 12-22. To look for a tuning that starts with a negative number, then you want to press the space bar first, and that will start with all the negative tunings. So let's say we were looking for a tuning that started with 77, then up will come all the different tunings that start with 77 that are negative. You can also search for a tuning by name. Click on the drop-down box and click on Tuning Description. And here, just start typing the first few letters of the tuning, and up will come all the different tunings that start with those letters. And then just select it and then you can add it to your program and take a reading just like we did before. And then say OK, and it's added to the program. When you're finished, close that window, and if you want to look to see that all your tunings are in there, click on Update Existing, and you'll see all the tunings that are already in your database. When you're finished, click Close, and then Next, and Finish. We can also copy from one session to another session. To do that, go up to Analysis, click on Review a Session, and choose the session that you'd like to copy from. In this case, I'll choose this session. Say OK, and then highlight all of the tunings that you would like to copy. Click on the first tuning you'd like to copy, and then go down, hold the Shift key, and click on the last tuning that you'd like to copy. Then go up to, you can either cut, copy, or paste. So the scissors are the cut, and then the two pieces of paper are the copy. In this case, I'm going to copy, so I click on Copy, and close that window, and now go up to Analysis, and Review a Session, and choose the program you'd like to copy into. We'll say this one. I'd like to copy into this one. Say OK. This one doesn't have any tunings, so now I click on Paste, and all those tunings are copied directly into that program. If you'd simply like to review a session, you can go up to Analysis, choose Review a Session, and then choose the session you'd like to look at, and then say OK, and this will give you an overview of everything that's inside of the session. Now if you want to print that session out, go up to Report, it says Generate Report, and up comes a report that you can actually print out. So once you've generated the report, go up to Report again and click on Print Report. And from here you can actually then click on Print, and it will print it out of your printer, or if you'd like, you can print it to, if you have Adobe Acrobat, you can print it as a PDF file in case you want to email it. So click on Print, choose your printer. In this case, I'm going to make a PDF file. I click on Print, give it a name and the date. That'll automatically come up, but if you want to change the report name, you can actually change it here. Click on it, and then put in a session report. This would be Dawn Session July 12th. Click on Save, and now it's generating the PDF report that I could send as an email if I wanted to. And there's my report. Now let's learn how to use the potentizing window. Now the difference between potentizing and replicating is that in potentizing, you're taking a tuning frequency and putting it into a substance, whereas replicating, you're taking a substance that already has an IDF pattern into it, and we're going to move the IDF patterns from the input and we're going to replicate them into the output. Right now I'm going to show you how to do a potentizing. So we go up to Balancing, click on Potentize, and up comes your potentizing window. Let's say I'm going to make some arnica, and I want to make it at 6x. Enter the number of seconds required to potentize the substance. I usually like to use my SE5 again to find out how many seconds. So this one's going to take 19 seconds. Now I place the liquid or whatever I'm going to potentize into on the rub plate. I dial up to 100%. I switch into the balance mode, and then I click Start. Now it's showing you on your screen the Arnica 6X on your display, and you'll see it pulsing as it's pulsing these IDFs into your substance that you're potentizing. Now remember, you're not making a homeopathic substance. We're making a potentized substance for research purposes to find out if our IDF balancing has any correlations with a true homeopathic remedy. Now, homeopathic remedies are made by taking an original substance and diluting it. That's not what we're doing. We're placing IDF patterns into a liquid to find out if there's any correlation between what we're doing with our potentizing and a true homeopathic substance. To use your calendar in your diary, click on the calendar, and up will come today's date. And if you want to add some information about today, you click on Edit and go over to the right-hand window, and let's say you have an appointment today for making SE5 1000 video. So you can keep track of your appointments, or you can keep track of just things that you need to do in this little window. And then you can go to another date, then click on Save, and that information will be saved under the date that you wrote the information. So if I wanted to have an appointment on the 23rd of July, I click on the 23rd, and I click on Edit, and now I can put in rebalance Dawn session, and it'll remind me then when I get to that date, that information will show up. Like today's the 13th, I can go back to the 23rd, and it has saved this information for me. When you're finished, click on Close. The calculator is a simple calculator. You just click on it, and you can use it like a normal calculator. 45 times 3 equals 135.